The best Fridays in football, and the man who's on the move today. He has many places to go, many promises to keep, and he's got TV shows. And we appreciate Urban Meyer joining us every Friday here on the special segment, The Best Fridays in Football. Urban, interesting week coming up. Looks like the league that everybody thought was dismantled is probably the dominant league in college football right now, as you've been saying. Pac 12, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's hard to say they don't have the strongest group of coaches, the best group of quarterbacks. It's amazing. You just don't know until there's more interleague play. But, Utah did play Florida without their starting quarterback, without three starters, and they won. The Pac 12 right now has Oregon and Washington, and I went back and watched Oregon. Oregon throws the ball for 300, rushes the ball for 200. You know how I feel about balance, and they're
Mm-hmm.
the top defense in the Pac 12. Washington is extremely well coached. And USC, if they just, the whole defense thing is an enigma right now. They just got to tackle better and make plays downfield. So very strong conference, and we're here at Notre Dame to cover the USC game.
Always a classic, as you know so well. Urban, I was thinking about this morning about in 2005 when LSU won the BCS, and then you won it 2 of the next 3 years. SEC began its dominance, complete dominance of college football. Now it's changed, Urban, and I know part of the reason because obviously of realignment. Your thoughts about that? Because when you went to Florida, and all of a sudden coaches began coming to the SEC and quarterbacks, it all changed. What an unbelievable dominant period. How much different is it now?
Well, it's actually '05 Texas won it, and then we won it '06, and then LSU won it
Okay,
'07. We won
that's
it
right.
'08.
Sorry. Yeah, right.
But
Thank you.
that was the run, and I remember we had to fight our way into the BCS game because there was still a little lack of respect for the SEC. It was Ohio State and the Wolverines, and they wanted a rematch, and we did what we had to do, and we beat Ohio State soundly. But then USC actually beat the Wolverines soundly too. So from that point forward, the SEC has been the most dominant, and I'm not willing to give up on the SEC yet. The minute you count Alabama out, you've really not followed what's going on. They got great players now, and they're just figuring out some issues on offense with the quarterback. He's a unique skill set. He's basically Percy Harvin taking a snap every play, which I would love to have that. Uh, the minute you start counting SEC out, you're wrong. Right now, I have them as the third best conference. But the Big Ten, I don't know if that's true. I think the Pac-12 is the number one conference. I think the Big Ten is top heavy. It's the best division in football. The Big Ten East with the Wolverines, Ohio State, and Penn State, because they're all top 10 teams. But the SEC now, I'm just telling you, and don't count them out.
And then you got Georgia sitting there. Who knows
Yeah.
how good they can be now? We saw what they could do. Kentucky, it could destroy you. Brock Bowers is one of the great players in college football, guy that I think is going to be on my Heisman ballot. So, how do you figure Georgia in this? I mean, Georgia's got to be there. They have the schedule and everything else, Urban. What's keeping them from getting there? So, getting past Alabama or whoever wins the West.
Well, I think you've seen some ridiculously easy schedules that are starting to change now.
Yeah.
Georgia's still, Kentucky's their best win, and they dominated. You have the Wolverines that have, I think, there's a 100 ranked schedule in the country. So they haven't had to play a second half yet, and they're not going to for the next few weeks. But all those questions get answered here real soon. At Penn, talk about the Wolverines at Penn State, and then Ohio State goes to Ann Arbor. The SEC will start beating up each other here in the next few weeks. That happens every year. So it's all going to be figured out. It's good television. It's good conversation on your show, our show. But it's all going to be figured out here soon. So Georgia is the man until you beat the man. And so they're the best team in the country.
Brings up a really interesting question. I talked to your friend Steve Spurrier about this yesterday, wrote a column about it. Don't know if you heard, probably not. Kirby Smart coming out and just raving about Steve Spurrier, how much respect he has for Steve Spurrier. I called it a bromance. Steve didn't like that term at all. He corrected me on that. But they have such great, deep respect. I didn't know Kirby came for a visit to Florida when Steve was coach, and he was a preferred walk-on. I said, "What happened?" He said, "We didn't offer him." So Kirby reminds people of that because that weekend was a guy visiting Florida named Peyton Manning who took up a little bit more attention to that. Think about that. How many times did you have guys come through and visit you that sometimes you didn't know who they were? later came back to be a great players. It can easily happen in recruiting, can it?
Oh, sure. You have hundreds of them roll through, and we've let a few walk through that. You get very upset because you'll have at any time 30 recruits come pouring through your office, and that's the job of your recruiting guy to let you know, or your assistant coach, make sure they know where they're. And the reality is that Kirby Smart would be probably the first one. Was he good enough to be a scholarship offer? He earned it as he went on his journey. So I think anyone that's involved in the game of football that doesn't have great respect for Steve Spurrier, they probably, first of all, don't understand who he is, and their opinion probably doesn't matter then.
I know you do. And of course, I'm looking forward to a time that we can all get together. I just think of my brain power being in one room, having a chance for you two to have a conversation again about what it was like when you played at Florida and lost. You said it so well last week. Anytime you lose, it's a disaster. Any game, as you pointed out, it changes the lives of coaches and people. So you put it in perspective. That bite got a lot of play around the country about anytime you lose, it is a disaster.
Well, Steve and I actually talked. Coach Spurrier and I actually talked a couple weeks ago, and it was, the history of Florida is an amazing history, but it's a very small window of excellence. To think that the University of Florida has been around for as long as it has, and they didn't win an SEC championship until the '90s under Coach Spurrier. It's hard to believe that he was the first one to win a national title, and there's only been 3 because Florida is that good of a place. You have everything you need to be a champion there. But, he made the point that in his career he's met very few people, and I'm luckily one of them. He said that the absolute despise, hate losing. You work every day not to go through that losing. So it's interesting to hear him say that. He was the same way. We went about our jobs maybe a little differently, but the thing that drove us was, the distaste and hatred of losing.
I look forward to recreating a conversation with Brenden and I next spring at Spurs Gridiron Grill. That's going to be a fantastic evening. We'll talk more about that later. One more quick, and then Brenden has a couple to ask about the game. The relationship of opposing coach, 2 Warriors. I mentioned Spurrier and Kirby. Kirby more as a player. You and Nick Saban. Now, you guys have had some hammer and tong events. I mean, over the period of time we've talked about it many times. You win that game in 2010. All of a sudden, you're the top dog. It didn't work out that way, but you and Nick have had some battles. How is your relationship with Nick? I know you have great respect for him. Do you guys talk? How's that going? And as years pass by, won't you begin to even have deeper respect for each other?
It's great. We've always got along great. We had epic battles together. We played in 1, 2, 3 championship games that eventually led whoever won the game won a national title. 2 at Florida, 1 at Ohio State. We get along. Our wives get along. We don't see each other very often. He's a very private guy, as am I. So, but one thing about coaching, it's very rare that you don't. I wasn't the most warm and fuzzy guy before a game to go out there yucking up and laughing because I just never did that. It was very simple. Be safe. I never said good luck because I didn't want them to have good luck. And it was be safe because I did want all players to be safe, and I'll talk to you after the game and somewhere down the road. But it's certainly not war, but it's the closest thing in my mind too when you're getting ready to play a game in front of 110,000 people that there's not much to be said. So I've never quite understood the whole yucking it up before a game. So go out there, shake their hand. I'll see you later. All the best. Be safe.
I think you went 2-3 against him, I believe. Right? Is that correct? What's your record?
2-2.
2-2. So here you were, 2-2 against the GOAT, the guy they says the greatest of all time. I know you'd like to be 4-0. That's pretty darn good to say you're 2-2 against the greatest coach of all time, which is what he will be when he retires.
Yeah, and you also have Joe Paterno. I coached against him one time. Bobby Bowden.
Yeah.
You think of some of the great coaches I've had the privilege, and I'm trying to think who current. Dabo Swinney. I unfortunately was unable to beat him. I was 0-2 against him. But there's so many great coaches. But to think I first went to Florida in 2005, and I think 5 games in a row we played Bobby Bowden, and I love Coach Bowden. And Joe Paterno, my last bowl game at Florida was against Joe Paterno.
Oh, Outback Bowl, right? Is it?
Outback Bowl, yeah,
Yeah.
is actually Coach Paterno's last bowl game too.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah.
I think Urban has a couple of quick ones. Urban, I know you're on the
Urban.
move today, so go ahead. Your witness,
Ur-
Brenden.
Urban or Brenden, it's fine. Hey, Coach Billy Napier talked a lot this week about how he's making changes to the travel process for road games, emphasizing the importance of more sleep and an early start on game day or earlier start. Coach, could you share your approach when you were coaching? How you prepared your team for unique challenges of road games? Include like hostile crowds, unfamiliar environments. I know you're very particular with your 48-hour rule about just no funny business 48 hours before the game. Any comments there?
Yeah, there's a lot of science involved in how you prepare a team for a game. But there's also, when I worked for Earl Bruce in the Woody Hayes era, we worked on Friday nights. You kept the players up, you watch videotape. But I worked for Sonny Lubick, the legendary coach at Colorado State, and he really changed. That's when Best Friday started. Is he said the most important thing on Friday, and I was like, well, yeah, tip sheets, watching film, reminders, and he said, no, the most important thing is getting their sleep because you need to be fresh. And when he's talked to not just your body, because you don't practice on Friday, but your mind. And the most important thing is get your sleep, get your rest. And the only way you can go to sleep is you have to be in a relaxed mode. That was Best Fridays. Once we got to the hotel, there was no more meetings. It was all watch a movie, play cards, play dominoes, watch the Friday night game, eat them, let them eat very well, make sure they're very, relaxed and got their sleep. So that's the evolution of Best Fridays when I worked for Sonny Lubick.
And you had Adagio in there early, waking them up, shaking them, throw them out of the bed when you were on the road. I remember that very well. Urban, in the remaining minutes, I know you haven't had time to study every game, but we have some key games this weekend. Obviously, Florida, South Carolina is bigger than we expected. Talk about your games against South Carolina. You and Steve had one. I believe he got the better of you the first time. He'll remember that, I'm sure. And then we got a couple of other games, Arkansas, Alabama, and A&M, Tennessee. Talk about South Carolina when you were in Gainesville.
I think it's the most underrated place in the country. I think it is. The fans there are awesome. The stadium is phenomenal. I hated it, but I enjoyed it because the fans are right on top of you. We lost one there the first year, but we had great games with them. And I think South Carolina is still a hidden gem. Obviously, Coach Spurrier, actually Coach Holtz, won a few bowl games there and really got them on the map a little bit. But Steve Spurrier took it to a whole different level. But South Carolina, to me, is one that when I tell people, that's one of the best atmospheres in college football.
And you won the big one back at the Swamp, and a big, huge game, the block kick. What a game. That's one of the greatest games ever played at Florida Field.
Yeah, one of the great moments. It's the loudest I've ever heard a stadium, and I've heard some loud stadiums when Jarvis Moss put his ring finger on that ball. And Steve Spurrier, after the game, walked over and put his arm around me and said, go win it all. Never forget that.
Yeah, Charlie Strong told me that Moss begged him to get on the field. He said, Moss, you're worn out. You can't, Coach, I got to get out there. And that's what you love out of a player. He knew he wanted a piece of that ball, and he got it, Urban.
So if you watch a video, someone showed me it. I was the water boy. I was squeezing Gatorade at him. So he was exhausted. And Charlie took him out, but we had a time. I think we burned at least one time out. And that gave him a chance to get a deep breath. And I remember just pumping him full of Gatorade, like I knew what I was doing. And obviously, 6'6" Jarvis Moss got a finger on it. 6'3" Jarvis Moss when he got it.
We'll have a good game this weekend. I know Notre Dame always conjures up memories for you. For a few people know you were going to go there until Jeremy Foley talked you out of it.
Yeah, I coached here 6 years. We love it. My son was baptized here in a log chapel. I'm here now, and this place is spectacular. It's going to be a rainy day against Southern Cal. Southern Cal's loaded on offense, but the defense is really struggling. So this could be, if it's a sloppy day, that favors Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got a big, tough physical defense, so it's going to be interesting. But athlete-wise, I'd give it to USC. But what happens in mud, athletes kind of get neutralized.
Well, thanks for 10 seconds. You talked to Marcus Freeman. Can you give us an indication of what that interview is going to be about?
Say that again?
You just talked to Marcus Freeman, am I correct? Was
Yeah,
that?
just off there. It was two friends. It was not an interview. It was.
Mhm.
I've known Marcus. He's an Ohio State graduate. I've known him for a long time. It's his first head coaching job, and I've been talking to him for 2 years. We just had a really good conversation.
Fine young coach. I think he's going to do well if he can survive this year at Notre Dame. Urban, always great to talk to you.
Thanks,
Great having
Coach.
you on the show. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you next Friday on Best Fridays in Football with the coach, Urban Meyer. Thanks, Urban.
Thanks,
All right, good
Coach.
to see you, boys.
See ya. Always good to see Coach Meyer. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our Friday segment. You
A little
got any
shorter than
announcements?
usual because he's in a hurry, but that's
Hey,
okay. And
man, we'll take it. He obviously was just, like I think he was shooting and then he popped out and just, got on the laptop at the restaurant he was at. So it's
I
pretty
really
good.
appreciate his commitment to this, Brendan. He's really gone all out to do this. And like I said last week, he's got a lot more important people he could talk to. And we love talking to him, having him. And we appreciate those people who picked up the interview that we had with Urban last week, Brendan, and flat, it went up, got a lot of play around the country regarding him hating to lose.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks to all those people who give us a lot of support and love on that, especially the guys over at the High Top Sports. Picked up our interview last week and gave you, buddy, some and us some props. So we appreciate it very much. There's a right and wrong way to do that stuff. We all utilize each other's info and interviews, and it's always good when we credit each other because we're all in this together. So
Yeah, some folks commenting real quick. What is the dinner at Spurrier's? We don't know that yet.
yeah,
It's just a concept. We talked to Freddie Wiebe, and we're going to have more information
yeah.
probably around the spring game. We don't know yet, but we're really honored. Can you imagine to have the two goats in the room like that and talk to them about what it was like?
Yeah, I think it will be something special. It'll be nice to have a little more time in the spring to do something like that because football season is always so difficult for everyone to get a minute, and it will be a what a great event that will be. We'll have to get him some kind of a stage, like how he did it at when we saw him at the
Gainesville Quarterback
Gainesville
Club.
Quarterback Club. Yeah, and get him and Urban on there. Maybe you can moderate or something. That would be
Yeah, we'll do
pretty
that.
cool.
In fact, I'm going back to Gainesville on the 14th of November to speak to the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Looking for a good group of people. By the way, folks are saying, "What are you doing up so early?" Don't worry, we'll replay it for you tonight on the program, and we
Well,
appreciate everybody who follows the show.
Well, it'll be once one of the reasons we go live in the morning is so because it gets uploaded directly to YouTube right away and to Facebook, and this people can watch it the rest of the day. If you miss part of the interview, just wait till this to end. You'll be able to see it right away. Go hit play, and by the way, if you want to know and get updates on when we do what we do when we go up
Yes, they
live.
do. Come on.
You can check down on the bottom right hand side there. There's a on YouTube. There's a subscribe button right if you click on the YouTube icon, and on Facebook, of course, you follow the Buddy Martin Show, like the page. You'll get updates as well. But don't get used to that because we won't always be going live back to Facebook. We're just trying to get you all who haven't migrated over to come join us at YouTube. Helps us out. Every like and subscribe helps us, puts a couple bucks in our pocket, and we appreciate it. So,
And also Gatorade. Don't forget, I have a column up right now on Kirby Smart's relationship with Steve Spurrier, which we just talked about with Urban. So check us out. We have some fine people writing over there.
yeah.
It's up and running now, and so we'll be covering, of course, the big game this weekend.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me about that actually. GatorbaitMedia.com. We've been running a season special, 20% off our all access annual membership. If you put in code winning when you check out, there's a little discount section. You get all of GatorBait for 1 year, message boards, you get digital magazine, our emails, blogs. The Buddy Martin Show has its own page there where you can watch and read at the same time. What do you say about that? Read Buddy and listen to Buddy. Now that's a lot of Buddy. Franz Beard, Lauren Meadows, the rest of our cast of thousands who join us on the show is over there right now for $79.20. You get yourself all of that Gatorade for 1 year. So check it out. Click on that code and enjoy. Hey, that's a great way to support us, by the way. That's our bread and butter and what we do there. Thanks for whoever just scan the QR code. We appreciate it. So check us out over there. We got staff going up this week. Lauren Meadows and Kyle Curtis. I think Matt or Quattro there are headed up to South
Maybe
Carolina.
Chris Spears, I think, might be there. So we'll
Chris
find
Spears. Well, all those guys. So we will be always find us on GatorBait, and who knows, maybe Buddy and I will feel inspired to go up after a big win
And
on
we'll pop
Saturday.
on there on Saturday to see what's going on. All right, Brenden, great job as always. Best
Great
Fridays in
job.
football. Back at you this weekend for a pop-up show.
All right. Yeah, you too. We'll talk to you all soon. Have a great